Bob Sweeney back again for another tour of his gardens here in the Juneau garden. I'm starting again at the canna plants I have by my shed and front yard, front walkway. Step to the side here a little bit, you can see they're coming really nicely, and actually they're beginning to uh, send out flower stalks. And we'll move a little closer so you can see those beginning. Here you can see a shoot coming up out of the middle of the plant where the flowers will be coming from. If I move here slightly a little bit here, we can actually see one that's beginning to look like it wants to come out into a nice little flower. So, in 2 weeks they should be all flowered out. Oh, what do we have here? These buggers, Japanese beetles. They haven't been as bad this year as they have in past years, thankfully. But I've been fighting with them now for weeks. Here in my wildflower garden you can see that we have black-eyed Susans in bloom. And just to the right, of course, we have the milkweed that is necessary for monarch butterflies. As I pan to the right here, we have blackberries. They're pretty small right now, hopefully that they're going to get bigger here as they ripen. Let's go inside the garden and see what they look like. Well, they certainly are a lot of them. It was the forecasters for rain, but it really didn't rain much. I was hoping that we'd get some natural moisture for these, but really haven't. So I watered them well a couple of days ago, and it's supposed to rain tomorrow. So hopefully that rain will help. These are ever-bearing raspberries. They have a relatively small crop here at this time of the year, and then September and October they're supposed to produce more. Actually, I got a much larger crop this year in the summertime than what I expected. And they're still producing, which I find kind of surprising. They really have sent up a lot of plants for next season. Maybe they might be too crowded. I might need to thin them out a little bit. And here we have the walking onions putting out these bulbils on top. A lot of them this year. I was hoping for a smaller number, but larger ones. But maybe in time they'll get big enough so that we can break some off and then take them in and eat them. These are hot, but they're good. Here we have a sugar pearl apricot. I've got a stick alongside of it to mark it so I don't mow over top of it. But you see it's not doing well. I think a woodchuck came along and nipped the top off of it. But it does have a few small leaves on it, so it's not dead. So hopefully it'll make it, because these are expensive. We need two of these kinds of apricots because they need to be cross-pollinated. The other one is a honey pearl, and that's right over here. It is doing much better. This peach tree was loaded earlier this year. It dropped a lot of them, but that's common. They're pretty small. I'm hoping now that because there are less of them on here, that they'll be getting larger. I would have thought they would be starting to get ripe by now, but they're awfully tiny. I'm hoping they're going to get a lot bigger. There are more peaches on this older tree. It's about the same size as the other one, but it's more well established. It's been here for quite a few years now. So it's got more peaches on them, on it. There's a big bunch right here. And it looks like they're going to be ripening about the same time as the other one. The variegated hostas are in bloom. I don't know what those plants are behind, but they always do really well. We planted these in the spring after we built our house. We built our house and moved in December. The following spring we planted these plants. Went over to Jung's and they suggested these on the north side of the house. So that's what we have, but I have no idea what they are. And we have more hosta plants here. Most of these I planted last year. Got them from our neighbors. They were having some landscaping redone. They were going to get thin out their plants, so I was able to get a number of them. This is one in the background, is a large leafed one that's just beginning to send out a flower stalk. So I'm pretty pleased with this part of the garden. Here we have one of our hazelnut trees. We have 3 of them. One's too small to produce, but you can see here that we have some nuts growing here. They're really just starting right now, and they're going to be getting bigger as time goes along. Last year we had a really nice crop on our larger tree, but the squirrels got all of them. So I went to YouTube to find out what we can do about that. And the guy that I decided to go with suggested that you harvest them early, get them off before the squirrels get them, put them in a box, let them dry out really well, hopefully in the sun, and then you'll have some for yourself. I've been having a lot of problem with animals getting into my garden and causing problems. I decided to go back to the surefire method of keeping them out, and that's the electric fence. I used electric fence many years ago when I had actually a field of corn that I was selling to keep the raccoons out. Well, now I've got woodchucks getting in, and I need to get a lower wire here that's electrified to keep them out. I also will be ready to go for the raccoons when they start going after my corn. Well, here we have one of the little buggers that's been causing a lot of destruction in my garden. By this time last year we were picking and freezing beans, canning beans, and we haven't gotten one this year. So yesterday I trapped one about this size. It's a woodchuck if you didn't know. And relocated it. And now I have to do the same with this one. You know, they do a lot of digging. I see they actually have a hole in the garden. We'll see that later. But they were living here amongst my rocks. You can see where they had dug all this gravel, this crushed rock, up from underneath the rocks there. And that's where their den was. I think there's just 2 of them, but I'm not positive. Well, this one's pretty small, and the other one that I moved yesterday was also pretty small. So maybe these are juveniles and there's still an adult around. Deer were coming through the garden earlier before I had problems with the woodchucks. So I went online again to YouTube to find out what people were doing as far as fencing to keep deer out. And the idea I went with was a fence post with 30-pound test fishing line. The fishing line, they can't see at night. And when they come in here, they run into the fishing line and they don't know what the heck is going on. So they just back away and they just don't get inside the garden. I'm surely hoping that this is going to work. I don't know for sure if it will, but so far I have not seen any signs of tracks from deer inside the garden. So I think it's going to work. I also have another one set up around my strawberries, and we'll take a look at those later. In order to get into the garden, I left this little opening right here. It's overlapping of the fishing line, so they shouldn't be able to find this little opening that I created here because they should run into the line on both sides. So as I walk around the corner here, you can see that there's a small opening or a narrow opening here where I should be able to get inside here to get after things. And right away here, you can see the damage of the woodchucks here with my kohlrabi. They even chewed on one here on the left. It's a really disappointment here, but they're about ready to be harvested. And over here I have, well, let's back up here. Here we go. We have turnips right here, and they're ready to be harvested. I'll probably get one today, maybe tomorrow. You can see another kohlrabi plants, more kohlrabi plants that have been chewed on. Right here are butternut squash. Let's get inside here and see if we can find some. Oh, there's a few little ones right here. I have 2 plants and they're branching out pretty nicely. So I've got some growing here from both plants. Here we have a volunteer watermelon, but I don't think it's going to produce anything. There is one tiny one right here, but I don't know if it'll be able to mature in time before it freezes. Here's where our cabbage was yesterday. I harvested it and I'm going to make coleslaw for a picnic today that we're having with the square dancers. Here I have 2 plants of cucumbers. I had 3, but unfortunately, shortly after it came out, it died. But we have some cucumbers here that are coming. We have mixed them up and eaten them here. Here we have zucchini, and I have 2 plants, and they are being prolific, as you might imagine. We've been having them 2 different ways, sautéed, which is very good, but also we have zucchini patties that I make. Ooh, what do we have here? Ah, yes. We've been dealing with those Japanese beetles for weeks now. Let's see, move some things around here. Here we have a pepper, some tiny little peppers coming in here. I have 2 plants. I had 3, but one of them died here. And they're just now starting to put on small plants. Here's a tomato plant. This one is the kind of making the sauce. The name will come to me later. Here we have some tiny grape tomatoes. They are just now coming ripe. We should have some soon. This is an early girl. I've been trying to keep this one trimmed pretty well, pruned pretty well. This one is another early girl I need to get tied up. It's now just starting to come. It was really knocked back for some reason. I needed to tie it to that post. One died here. I think it was an early girl. And here are more of the paste style tomatoes that I can't think of the name of offhand right now. I'm disappointed here. It's a common paste tomato. All right, green beans. They have just been devastated by the deer first and then the woodchucks later. Hopefully now that we've got some fencing here, we'll be able to get some. In the background we have beets, and they were also chewed on tremendously both by the deer and the woodchucks. And then we have peas. I've been very happy with the peas this year. I need to get down here and pick these. As soon as I'm done here with this video, I will go out and pick peas. These are sugar and, where you eat both the, oh, we have a beet here. It's about ready to harvest. But these peas I've been very happy with. They're sugar and type, where you eat both the seeds as well as the shell, which is a sugar type shell. Corn has been having all kinds of problems. First of all, it didn't all germinate at the same time, and then it got in here. The deer started chewing on it. I don't think it's going to have a very good corn crop this year. But I have that electric fence now, and that should be able to keep the raccoons out, so anything I get should come to us rather than to the raccoons. This is the first planting, but they came staggered, so I don't think it's going to be very good. This is the second planting. This one also did not germinate very well. 2 different staggered germination periods here. So I don't know if they were going to get much out of this one either. Here we have watermelon. And these I grew in the cold frame, so they got an early start. So you can see one coming here. And getting out here is a little bit younger one here. Coming off a little bit different branch. And the largest one is right over here. It's coming pretty nicely. Right next to it in intermix we have muskmelon. I think I have 2 different kinds of muskmelon in here. There's one that's the longer type. It's kind of an oblong shaped one. And then if I go here to the left a little bit, you see one that's more rounded. right there. This is by the squash plant. You can see where the woodchuck had burrowed in here next to the butternut squash plant. Very disappointing. Got more muskmelon in here, but I don't see any melons in there yet. There's probably some in there because I haven't looked very carefully yet. I don't want to disturb it too much. There's probably some in there. And I have a couple rows of onions on this side of the garden. I've trimmed them back. Hopefully it'll put more energy into the bulbs, making them bigger, rather than putting energy into the leaves. But I think we should be able to get some decent onions out of here this year. I have a row of carrots here alongside my tomatoes. They're supposed to be a companion plant. The woodchuck did get in here and chew on these leaves as well. They're eaten down a bit now, but I think that they're coming back pretty well. So I should be able to feed those carrots and we get some carrots this year. It's a pretty nice row of carrots, I think. You can see that I've had to put a fence around my strawberries as well. The deer came in and just ate them right down to the nub. We got absolutely no strawberries this year. But now that I have it fenced in, they seem to be coming pretty well and sending out runners. We should be able to get a crop next year. Looks like we have some birds in there trying to look for bugs. Hopefully they're getting some. But this is the strawberry patch, fenced in, keep the deer out. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Oh, look over here. We have our asparagus, and they, of course, have gone completely to ferns to rejuvenate the roots, and should have a good crop of asparagus for next year. Thank you for watching.